Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, a great millstone who are teaching this truth and sincerity. And a shout out to Yakim and Yakwath that are tuned in and listening. Brakat the Yahweh, Brakat the Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Brakat them. So, yeah, man, these Edomites, man, they're telling on themselves as this has come out, though, that, well, most people ain't with their big government, you know, and often blow the whistle on them. They call them whistleblowers and, you know, not very welcome over here. You know, they're trying to do everything they can because, you know, what we teach on the streets in a way is also whistleblowing. You know, we're making people aware of what's actually in the Bible. And that's why they're calling us doomsday prophets. Nonetheless, though, Iraqi officials say ISIS, not Iran, behind attack. Trump used to justify Soleimani assassination. You know, that supposed rocket attack that was supposed to come from Iran. Yeah, man, that was ISIS. And ISIS is a terror group that the United States uses, you know, to create means of war. And you know how kingdom's against kingdom here. Trump supporters attacked after van plows through GOP voter registration tent in Florida. The suspect arrested. Approximately 6 Trump supporters were attacked in the parking lot of a Jacksonville, Florida Walmart Saturday afternoon at around 3:50 p.m. when a man in his 20s plowed through a voter registration tent, according to the local sheriff's office. So you see, this country is definitely divided. Kingdom is divided against kingdom. So here's some pictures there of that. Kind of out of the blue, a man approaching us in a van was waving at us, kind of a friend's demeanor. He was coming up to talk to us. Instead, he accelerated his vehicle and plowed right into our tent, our table, said volunteer Mike Alfair, the 6th volunteer, adding after a van he had ran over everything. He backed up, took out a cell phone, kind of recorded the damage, made some obscene gestures at us, and then proceeded to leave the complex. So you could tell, though, so this is Esau right there. So this country is definitely divided against itself. Not going to stand much longer. But wait, there's more. Syria and Russia publish evidence of U.S. weapons recovered in Idlib terrorist enclave. Well, what have we said for the longest, man? That the United States supports a terrorist group, and that the sponsor of all terrorism is, you know, Amalek, Israeli state, and the United States, their main hegemony. The Syrian Arab army is making major gains inside Idlib in a military offensive condemned by Turkey and the United States over the weekend, capturing the key town of Servush from al-Qaeda-linked Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. Amid the military evidence, the Syrian and Russian governments say they are recovered proof of U.S. support for anti-Assad al-Qaeda insurgent terrorists, publishing photographs and crates of weapons and supplies to state-run Syrian Arab News Agency. Syrian Arab units have found U.S.-made missiles and ammunition and medicines made in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait at the positions and the caches of terrorist organizations in the towns of Mardika and Karif al-Man in Idlib's southern countryside after crushing terrorism in them. So there you go. There's the stockpiles. Syrian reporters say they were recovered in newly liberated areas of southwestern Idlib province, where army units found weapons, ammunition, and U.S.-made shells and Grad missiles left by terrorists at their positions in the town of Kafr Aman after they fled from the area after the advance of the army. The Russian embassy in Syria also circulated the photos on Saturday, saying they were some interesting findings and areas that were controlled. So, there's some of the images here. Here's a little bit of the footage. Again, who really has been winning the war against ISIS? Considering that all these are US-made weapons, so we know who created and funded ISIS. You know, the evidence still keeps coming out. Soon America will look this way, before the missiles actually hit. People are in for a rude awakening to think that this is going to go on forever. They just never seen it like this before. But soon there will be. Martial law, curfews, everything. Turkey fears the fallout and strain of hundreds of thousands of refugees now fleeing Idlib toward the Turkish border, while Russia has charged that Erdogan has failed in his promises to bring neutralized terrorist groups who have begun attacking civilians deep inside of neighboring Aleppo province. So it sounds like Vladimir Putin is not supporting Erdogan in this. So I would say any deal that Gomer once had with Magog in this particular area has now come to a halt. And more here on Press TV, which they've re-looped a video from Syrian Arab News Agency. Syrian Arab Army gains control of 600 square meters, several town and villages in Aleppo Idlib statement. So we're going to check this out here. This thing will play. It's what I hate about this. I like to just download these and then just press play later, because look at this shit. Doesn't even want to fucking play. Hold on. I don't know if I can get this to work. Yeah, ESO has this shit blocked, you know, but, you know, they, of course, don't like truth-telling, but that's okay, because I got other footage of the fighting. Hold on. Of course, like everything else, I'm only allowed to play certain parts of it. It's kind of funny though. YouTube will allow fake crisis actors to stage chemical weapons attacks, but the moment you start showing real footage of what's going on, then they want to, you know, say that it's inappropriate or whatever.
Maybe.
And here's some of the terrorists fighting back in the so-called Kurdish region of the Idlib province. You know, they're Plan B, because Turkey says that they're ready to form Plan B, and I'll be reading that article in a minute here. So these are the terrorist counteroffensive in Idlib.
تبشتم عليك من وضعين ان شاء الله تمام ما عليك من وضعين والله يطلع راح تجبر فيه راح اكبر اللي فات بما جمهور ما بدك يا بدك تدفش هذا مفروض الفحص الثاني الثاني نفس الشيء هذا ده حالتين هذا عندك سوريين ليك لك هاي انت راح تدخلوا هاي كتله شباب في الوظيفه بتاعتنا تدخلوا من
You see, with all this videos out here and everything, there is no way that those that are serving in the military right now don't know that they're serving the wrong side of history. And this is why the Rothschilds wish that they never created the internet. Because, of course, like everything else, though, everybody knows that the United States is just supporting the interests of the bankers. It ain't about what's right or what's wrong, and they know that it's a smokescreen. So-called fighting for freedom, the illusion of fighting for freedom. And, like I said, 2/3 of our people are caught up in this shit, too. And they're going to get killed in World War III. And you don't think for 1 second that this UN army after next armies ain't going to be doing the same thing here in America? That America's been doing that? Of course they're going to. So, more on Amalek. Hiding behind passenger planes, Israel's new dirty tactic. You know, because this is what they do when they do their acts of terrorism. When they bomb Damascus, they'll just hide behind civilian airlines, so that way these Syrian air defenses will shoot down passenger planes, and they'll get caught in the crossfire. A day after the Russian Defense Ministry said that an Israeli airstrike on the Syrian capital endangered a civilian aircraft with 172 passengers, questions have arisen over what appears to be an Israeli plot to further escalate the situation in the region. According to Russia's Defense Ministry's Friday statement, Israel knowingly attacked Damascus as the passenger plane was preparing to land with the aircraft, only narrowly escaping the lethal zone of fire between Israeli missiles and Syria's missile interceptors. The Airbus 320 was headed to Damascus from the Iranian capital Tehran early Thursday when it was forced to divert its route as the Syrian capital's air defenses intercepted the Israeli strikes. The Israeli state attack took place as Syria troops were liberating the terrorist-held town of Sarbush in northwestern Idlib province, further tightening the noose on the foreign-backed terrorists there. So, anyhow, they're just saying, yeah, this is just irregular for Amalek. But Gomer and all his bands have a plan B. Turkey warns of plan B amid Syria's anti-terror operation in Idlib. So, they got a plan B. As you can see some of the footage there as they are losing against the Syrian Arab Army. Turkey says it will change tack in northwestern Syrian province of Idlib, where an intensified anti-terror operation is underway by the Syrian Arab Army against foreign-backed terrorists. Turkey's defense ministry, Halur Akar, said in an interview with the Hayret Daily that Ankara has made alternative plans for Idlib province if the deal made with Russia continues to be violated. Based on a 2018 deal with Russia, Turkey set up 12 observation posts in Idlib. Turkish security sources said that this week 3 of them have been encircled by the Syrian government forces. If the agreement kept being violated, we have Plan B and Plan C, Akar said, adding that we on every occasion say, do not force us otherwise. Our Plan B and Plan C are already ready. So you can see, though, that this is going to escalate. Gomer and all his bands, just like the prophecy says. You know, and you remember seeing those. So, yeah, they got a Plan B and Plan C already ready. But also, in between all this, Iran, aka Persia, all of them, they have a missile defense system too. In fact, they've unveiled a new RAD-500, Lightning 500 missile. So here's a little bit of their testing, because they're gearing up for World War III as well. And hopefully this plays, because last time I didn't have such luck. ESA's really blocking videos from playing on this channel. Yeah, goddamn devil won't even let it play. So, you know, this prophecy, as well as many others, this being the year of prophecy, is definitely speaking. As we can see, though, that this country, America, is divided against itself. Is a lot of people hate Trump's guts, and a lot of people love Trump. You know, and what they're willing to do for that, you know, sway into the symphony of destruction, like the song goes, you know. They're ready, you know, so, you know, that leads me to Isaiah chapter 19, verse 1. The burden of Egypt, which this is modern day Egypt. Behold, the Most High rideth upon a swift cloud. What's that talking about? Well, you and I both know, though, that eventually he's going to be coming on that chariot. Not just to carry us home, but to smite this place. It shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence. And the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of that. What's that talking about? Fervent heat. Fervent heat. What's that talking about? That's when these missiles start making their landings. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. You know, you got your Republican Party, your Democratic Party, your conservatives, your liberals, and then you got the radicals among that, you know. You got your provocateurs among that, you know, will do anything, will set fire. And they shall fight everyone against his brother. everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. Oh, well, you thought that the Civil War was unrest, everybody against each other. Nah, man, this is going to be even more intensely than the Civil War, because this is going to bring nuclear destruction eventually. And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof. And they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers and to them that have familiar spirits and to the wizards. People look to their politicians for answers, and their answers, they never had the answers. They're just going to lie to you. You know, they just wave that wand, and everybody just dances to that symphony. You know, but yet it's a symphony of destruction. And the Egyptians will I give into the hand of a cruel lord. It's Donald J. Trump, nothing but a fucking cruel lord. But who's the main lord over this? Rothschild. The Rothschilds are the most evil of all, and they command Trump, their puppet. And a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Most High, the Lord of hosts, which, you know, still dealing with the king of Babylon here, which is controlled by the Rothschilds. And the waters shall fail from the sea, and the rivers shall be wasted and dried up. Are we not hearing more and more about droughts and everything else, especially last year, man? Last year, a lot of things didn't get planted because of the floods, and then you also had the dry seasons, man. Crops were destroyed. They shall turn the rivers far away, and the brooks of defense shall be emptied and dried up. The reeds and flags shall wither. Man, this whole place is failing, you know, piece by piece. The people reed by the brooks, by the mouth of the brooks, and everything sown by the brooks shall wither, be driven away, and be no more. You're seeing businesses shut down everywhere, man. You know, there ain't mirth in this place anymore. The fishers also shall mourn, and all they that cast angle into the brooks shall lament, and they shall that spread nets upon the water shall languish. Yeah, because there's nothing to find there. Everything's either dead or dried up, and it just, there's nothing there. No mirth. Moreover, they that work in fine flax and they that weave networks shall be confounded. Everybody over here is getting confounded. They shall be broken in the purposes thereof, and all that make sluices and ponds for fish. You know, so they just not going to be bringing in anything anymore. You know, the shelves are going to be dry. You're going to be running out of shit. We're beginning to see all these things. So, you know, and again, you know, how they say that the council shall no longer be in Teman. Well, check out verse 12 here. Where are they? Where are thy wise men? And let thee know, and let them know what the Most High of hosts have purposed against Egypt. Well, think about it, though. We're out there. We're prophesied against Mount Seir. We're out there prophesied against this modern-day Egypt. And, again, you know, verse 15. Neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head or tail branch or rush may do. So, you ain't going to find any work here. Pretty much. Well, what's going to replace work then? You know, if you can't work anymore, what's going to replace that? Well, that's where this mark of the beast comes in, the RFID. And check this one out, because when we go out there, even the king of Babylon, Donald J. Trump, had to address it, that we must reject these prophecies of doom. And the land of Yahweh shall be a terror unto Egypt. Everyone that maketh mention thereof shall be afraid in himself, because of the counsel of the Most High of hosts, which he hath determined against it. You know, that's another thing. I remember watching a video of a camp on the street, and there was this woman who, you know, started to get a whiff of what the scriptures actually said. And she was driven to tears by what we had said. This is how intensely this is, and that's why, you know, Donald J. Trump, more than anything else, says you got to reject these prophecies of doom, because it doesn't include everyone. No, man, the Most High didn't die for everybody, you know. And once this woman had gotten a whiff of it, man, she started to cry. And this is just one of many videos out there, but this is one that I can recall, though, that, you know, and there's so many of them where they actually hear this word, and it brings them to tears.
It says, and the doors shall be shut in the streets, and when the sound of the grinding is low, he shall raise up a voice of a bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. Right, you know, We just gonna be sitting at the house, man, listening to the roosters crowing. And all you rappers, y'all already losing it, man. Because if y'all ain't making no money on iTunes, ain't nobody buying no CDs no more. Hey, man, when the last time you bought a CD, man? Year.
But then I wasn't buying it. I was pirating them motherfuckers.
Disclaimer, I'm not sure these brothers are in Great Millstone. This is Mordecai, Texas. But either way, though, they are speaking the prophecy.
You gotta get famous to do a show, and let's say you're an up-and-coming rapper, you might, if you just happen to get a show that pay you anything, you might get $5,000 if you're just a new rapper, man. Am I lying?
Yeah, that's why a lot of these niggas turn into producers now, trying to make beats. They know ain't no damn thing on that. Hey, you don't get there.
The last motherfucker to make some money was this girl, and she an Israelite. A motherfucker called Adele. You know who she is? The motherfucker made $2 million in 1 day, or 2 days. $2 million. Off that song, Hello. Look up, her dad Irish. And people ask her, just like Tom Jones, people ask her, how you got this beautiful voice? You sound better than a lot of black people. The bitch Beyonce mad at her, man. She sound better than her, and the bitch sold more. One fucking record, man, sold more than the last month. Yeah, one single sold more singles than anybody whole record in the last 10, 15 years.
Michael Jackson's Thriller, I believe.
Come on, man.
Hey, it's funny how I saw them say how from the other side.
Right. And the beauty of that is, what I'm getting to is, man, go and give me that haircut, man. One. Because, let's say she made $2 million. If your husband come a rapper and you made $5,000, guess how much you owe in taxes? If you made $5,000, 25, half of that is taxes. You made $2 million, $1 million on taxes. You got it? Because Esau, they already knew that Jake was talented. They already know that we're the salt of the earth. They already know anything that Jake do, he's going to excel. And the Negro, Latino, Native American, when it comes to the entertainment and music industry, I mean, you look at the artifacts of the Hebrews that etched in stone. They had cornrows in their hair, they were Negro, and they were clearly marked as musicians. So they already know who we were. They knew we was going to excel. So what they did, they said, well, we got to trap them. So what happened to damn near every person that's not only famous in music, but also in the so-called arts, whether they're actor or whatever, they always get into tax trouble. Wesley Snipes, Red Fox,
Warren Sapp, that motherfucker.
right, T.O.
Yeah, that nigga, man, they made a lot of money, man.
He was on TV crying. Yeah, boo-hooing, man. I mean, because these curses was hitting him, man. He just didn't know why. He's like, oh, why? My women do me like this. My children and all. I just love that. Why did they do? No, man. You are a Jake, man. He saw, make sure you ain't gonna excel. He put these traps on you, so when you think you getting ahead, you ain't gonna get ahead.
Like this guy now, they got a big hoorah about this guy named y'all know the guy named Marty for the he was playing cornerback for the Jets. This motherfucker played a month. He paid $12,500 a month child support. He got like 15 baby mamas.
Wow.
The dude, they say he add up a year, he paid $376 a year.
both of them both said the same thing. They would repeal that law that Bush passed to allow the president to remain in power. They both said they would repeal it. It hasn't been repealed thus far.
He just signed a bill.
Someone said,
It's another one solidifying it now.
someone said that they were going to do it right at the right before the.
Because now what they just signed says that if our country is in war at the time of the elections are canceled. Right. And we know we're on the verge of war with Russia, with NATO and Russia.
This is from Congress.gov. This is Bill HJRES 15. It said proposing an amendment to the Constitution of the United States to appeal the 22nd article of the amendment, thereby removing limitations on the number of terms an individual may serve as president.
Right now, what will happen if he does that? Civil war, civil disobedience, because there are people
Fast forward
in
to
this
Trump.
country. Some of them go by the name Oath Keepers.
This impeachment
and they
stuff,
made a
think
vow
about it.
that they will not stand for anybody infringing upon the Constitution, even though the Constitution was called and thrown away years ago. We're talking about way back with Woodrow Wilson, when the IRS was implemented, when they started taxing us through the IRS. The Constitution was balled up a long time ago. But what happened? Our people were asleep because we were able to buy gas at 25 cents a gallon. And we just slept and let them continue to do. And now it's beyond. There's nothing you can do now.
No.
Right. So there will be total destruction. There will be martial law. There will be a false flag attack. It may even be nuclear, a dirty bomb. They're going to blame it on ISIS.
Yeah.
And guess what the picture's gonna look like on television? The picture's gonna look like me. Right. ISIS, every time they put up a picture of ISIS, it's a Latino or a black person that looks black. Why? Because I don't know if you know about this, but there's a plan called the King Alpha Plan. And what the government, they tried to touch on this in the Iran-Contra hearings when they were going after Noriega. This was in Ronald Reagan days. And one of the members of the board brought out about the King Alpha plan. So when you go home, check it out. Their plan is to come make an insurrection again on the Negroes and Latinos. Of course, you hear through Donald Trump, but he's speaking in code. They're going to deport. Their plan is to deport all the Mexicans back to Mexico. And as far as the so-called black men, we're no longer needed here. We're not.
They're gonna kill a lot of people. They're gonna kill a lot of whites.
You're right, because anybody that stand and say, hey, this is not right, they're going to kill you too.
They'll kill me.
Right.
Because you know what? It is a mess.
Right.
And I always say
be
that
righteousness against unrighteousness. That's what the final fight is going to do.
and it's like this world is just getting worse.
But this is all prophesied in the Bible that these things will happen.
Yes.
So in the end, the kingdom of God will be here. Even though, now, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but the scriptures that refer to Babylon in the Bible, or the daughter of Babylon, you may not believe it, but you got to do some research on this. That scripture is pertaining to America. America is referred to as the daughter of Babylon. And King David prophesied that it ought to be destroyed. Jeremiah gave a prophecy of it actually being But now that we're here, America, the Constitution of America gives you the freedom of speech, gives you the freedom to worship as you see fit. What we've done is study the Bible. And when we found out our heritage and who we were, that's a beautiful thing. But now, the people that have put their hands on us, God said He's not going to forget that. And they have to pay for what they've done. All right, continue.
He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity.
So if they put us as slaves, now God to rightfully repay them, they have to become slaves. That's why you see a lot of people, they're not going to tell you on mass television that the people that are getting the preppers and the bunkers, that have the underground bunkers that find ammunition, they know who we are. And they just don't want this to happen. Because they feel like, well, I didn't do that. That was my great-great-granddad did that. I like black people. Give me Isaiah 14. Right. Go ahead.
I don't have faith in my heart at all. It's a travesty of
Right, and guess what?
everything is.
Right. And the sad part about it, a lot of the people that, a lot of people that came over here on the slave ship, we didn't mean no harm to nobody. Look what happened to us. So I know it's a bad thing, but if the Lord has spoken, it shall come to pass.
He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword.
Turn the sign around. This stuff happens to our people. It's actually happening now, but they're doing it with the gun. We don't cry for the people, these young men that are getting killed, because most of them, they ain't right.
Lord said it's gonna be like
They ain't right. Trayvon Martin, I don't care what happened to Trayvon Martin. He was a knucklehead. When you read the history, he didn't want to listen to his mama. Basically, he was a product.
He went the wrong way.
He was a product of the system.
Right.
The woman used the authority of the system. She put his father on child support, broke up that family. All his life, he was told his father ain't crap, but his father did care for him. But that's what our women do to us.
And again, this is what happens when they get a hold of this truth. This is going to go further.
They misuse the system, and that system, we want it to stop, but it's not going to stop. That's why the Lord is going to destroy this place. That's right. The only way to get rid of the system. So he was asking for it. He was a knucklehead. He had to pay for what he did. All these guys, what's the other guy that got choked out in New York for selling cigarettes? Well, Romans 13 tell you what you selling new cigarettes for. That's against the law. He shouldn't have been killed for it, but guess what? You asking for it. And then you resist it. I don't cry for him. All right, go ahead and get what you got.
Ezekiel chapter 25 and 14. I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hands of my people, Israel.
Right, so the Lord is telling you his people are going to physically put hands on the people that oppress them. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Edom, but the scriptures tell you the description of Edom in the Bible are people that are red. And when we look at that, we clearly see that the people that are red are not the Native Americans like we were told. That's the red man. Why? Because when they're in the sun, they get darker. I know because my son is part Native American. He just gets dark. He don't turn red. But when Caucasian people, they laugh, they get angry.
They turn pink. They're in the sun.
Right. Now, also, because of everybody's been race mixing, and this is the melting pot of America, some of the Israelites, especially the northern tribes, the Latino tribes, they look just like you. They have blue eyes just like you. So we would be in fault if we judge people by the outer appearance. So our thing is to tell people to fear the Lord, pray that you're an Israelite, because if you're not an Israelite, you're going to catch hell. Because vengeance, the Lord is going to have his vengeance. And this is part of it. Go ahead.
And I will lay my vengeance upon I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hands of my people Israel. They shall do in Edom according to my anger, according to my fury.
That's bad. Why? Because us, even though all the stuff that has happened to the Negro, Latino, and Native American, guess what? We still really just want to get along. We just want to live. We just want a job. We want to feed and raise our children in peace, and we still get oppressed. We still are told this is as far as you go and no higher. And we're God's people. The only reason why we're here, do you give me? I'm gonna ask you a question. See how
when I was growing up, I didn't need a degree. I need a degree now.
Right.
I don't have one, but anybody
It doesn't even guarantee a job.
no, you
Right.
could still be working and flipping burgers or wherever.
I
and
know
you
I have
spend-
people come to me
and you-
asking me for a job.
Yeah,
They
and
have
you spend
degrees.
all this money and in debt for student loans, which is, again,
Paying to the banking system.
yeah.
Now, why is that? Because when our people in the 1800s, when we were still slaves, the so-called white people, they didn't realize it though. They were under the banking system. That's what the Civil War was about. It wasn't about Confederate flag and slavery. It was about the bankers wanting to take over the entire United States of America. The South said, no, we're self-viable. We don't need the banks. We have our own money. Screw the bank. And the bank said, you don't know who you're messing with. And we see who won, right?
Lincoln, he wanted to change the currency. He wanted to put the bankers out to change the currency.
He did change it, the greenbacks.
He had to be back. They popped him.
Right.
Same thing with Lincoln. I mean, Kennedy. Kennedy didn't want to change.
Yeah, see, that's another thing. Silver
Right,
certificate.
Right. Because the bankers, and again, the bankers are the 10,000 snakes that don't think like you.
Yeah. You know what? I just had, because those are things that bother me. So and those are things that I notice, and I don't even watch the news because the news is known.
You know who this guy is?
Hey, right here.
That's Evelyn Rothschild. That's the guy who runs the world. Get Job 924. This is the guy that owns the Federal Reserve Bank.
Wow.
The guy that called the shot
Quick.
9/11. Them two planes that they did.
Yeah, but that was
Yeah, right here.
inside job.
Inside job.
Right.
Inside
Oh,
job.
it's all inside job.
Job chapter 9, verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked.
So right now, who's ruling right now? It's not, well, God is ruling because he's put him in power. But he's letting the wicked have his way. Why? So he'll be justified in punishing him in judgment day. Because now all this power that the elites have, they can do right if they wanted to. They have the power. But will they? They're not going to do it.
And another question that bothers me too, and sorry, but what do you think about the Saudis? I mean, they are barbaric in their punishments.
Right, the scriptures tell you they're wild, they're untamable.
That you get your hand cut off.
That's why it's perfect that America's using them as ISIS and ISIL right now. Really, ISIL. ISIS is a weak term. ISIL has more bite because it refers to Iran, Syria, and the Levant. The Levant includes the entire Fertile Crescent. That means you can't trust a Syrian, you can't trust an Iraqi, you can't trust no Arab, period. So ISIL is, but the reason is, they're using them only to spread the fear of terrorism. Who is the people that's really going out shooting up the schools? Is it ISIS or ISIL? Who is it?
Go in on you got a phone.
The terroristic acts that happen on our soil are not done by foreign people. The only one that they claimed was the Boston Marathon that I can remember.
Even that, because I did research on the attacks that happened in America, going back to Pearl Harbor, all that stuff was done by inside jobs.
I believe that. I believe you.
Now, the reason, and this is the point I want to make, because if you compare what's going on now to Germany, when Hitler was ruling, they started breaking it down into classes of people.
And they, real quick, it was predicted or thought of Hitler being the Antichrist.
Well, he was before. There are many antichrists according to the Bible. Antichrist just means anyone that's not
That's
for
equal.
People actually doing the good thing. Trying to get rid of the so-called Jews, but they like the real Jews. Because Hitler, when you find out, you do much research, you find out Hitler was a so-called Jew himself.
He was a so-called
He was
Jew.
actually a Rothschild.
Right, his dad was.
Nick Rothschild.
Right. But the way that Hitler was able to implement his plan, first it started politically, and then he began to get more treacherous with his speech. And one class of people would say, well, okay, well, those are them. Take their guns from them, oppress them, lock them up, we don't care. And then they came after the next group, and then the next group, and then the next group. And finally, it was the people that were supporting Hitler, and he came after them. And they said, hey, we got to get this guy out of office. Hold on just 1 second. And so what happened? There was no one to help them because they thought it was okay group and a lesser group and a lesser group. Well, that's what happened in America. First it was the Native Americans. Americans came over here from England and they said, hey man, we're escaping persecution. These Native Americans, they're savage. Screw them. Then they brought the Negro here from Africa. Hey, well, hey, they don't have any education. They're dumb. There's no any kind of way. And while the vast majority of America stood by and watched, then the Irish came and the Italians came. And they continued to watch what happened to us. Now, the same people that did that to us are now doing it to y'all. And who's there to help you now? Nobody. That's why the Bundy guy in Oregon is standing. He's probably gonna die because that's how frustrated white America has become. They realize the hole that they dug for themselves, and they're saying now is the time to fight. And if we have to spill our blood to wake up the rest of these guys, so be it. But it's too late. It's too late.
Can I shake your hand?
All right.
God bless you.
Yes, we are.
Well, why y'all saying all this stuff?
Well, the reason for that is because when you read the Bible, let's get it for it. In the book of Revelations, it actually gives you a description on how Jesus Christ looked. And this picture, we know because we've researched it. You can research it too because everybody got computers now. Research this guy. His name is actually his name was Caesar Borgia. He was a white guy, a Spaniard, and they painted his picture, a portrait, to be worshipped as Jesus Christ. They knew he wasn't Jesus, but they wanted the people to think that Jesus looked like him. Why? Because if they felt like if they put up a white image, that people would actually begin to look as white people as the chosen people of God when they're not.
Get it for her. All right, just real quick. The book of Revelation.
But she wanted to know, so let's tell her.
Yeah.
It's let the Bible tell her, not me.
Exactly. You said I was hearing you.
Right.
Even the Bible. This is what the Bible said. Only Bible.
And that's a good question for a young lady to ask for people out there watching. Go ahead.
This is Revelation chapter 1, verse 13. In the midst of the seven candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man.
The Son of Man means Jesus Christ. Go ahead.
Now we're going to do a comparison. Clothed with a garment down to the foot.
Both of them have a garment that reaches their foot, so go ahead.
And girt about the paps with a golden girdle.
Only one has a golden girdle around his waist because back then that protect your body parts from being pierced with a sword. Go ahead.
His head and his hairs
Right, your head means the hair on top of your head, and the hairs refers to a man's beard.
were white, like wool.
Right, so the real Jesus Christ, according to the Bible, his hair was white like wool. Now,
AKA nappy.
right, wool is thick and coarse, it's not straight and stringy. So the image that they put and said was Jesus, actually his hair was like yours. It was woolly, it was thick. Go ahead.
As white as snow.
Right,
His eyes were as a flame of fire.
right, his eyes were red because he drank wine. Go
And
ahead.
his feet like unto fine brass. You know what color brass is?
It's brown, right, like a penny.
So your feet's the same color as your body, right? His feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace.
So he was like your complexion. Not her, not his, not mine. He looked closer like your complexion. Like real. So, because some people, when you growing up, they make fun of you because of your skin color. They're going to be surprised when they see the Lord. It's a blessing to have skin color like yours.
That's right.
Right. All right. All right, too.
Hey man, when you read the scripture, you see tones change.
But in respect to the tones, but I try to diffuse that spirit. So the camera can be edified whether they were edified or not. You know?
Soft answer turn over to rap.
Gone. And just like they eat them out here, we cut her up softly. We got tears in our eyes. Y'all see the tears? She started crying.
This
She
year-
didn't get that on camera. She started
I
crying.
told her like that.
Yeah, so you didn't get to see it, but this is just one of many videos. And this is why Donald Trump says we must reject these prophets of doom. So we're telling you what Yahweh Shai looked like, his real name, and just that everything's been a lie. And they've run out of lies. This truth has cut them. For that, I want to say, Rock of the Yahweh Shai, Bashim Kakadash, Wa Abab Abal.